Hey everyone, Reid Henrichs of Valor, and this message is for the mayor of Champaign, Illinois. Let's go ahead and get started. When I was a young boy, I'll never forget this quote, that fear is the language of slaves. That comes from the Anti-Federalist Papers, and when we have anything wrong in this country, in modern times it seems that anything that goes wrong, that we have to give government more power. I can't think of a more pathetic state, a more pathetic situation where free men and women will willingly and gladly give up their liberties for the veneer of security. If you look at world history, guys, if you look at the history of this country, anytime tyranny has ever planted its roots and taken growth has been under the auspice of emergency, crisis. You can't keep falling for this. I remember after September 11th, when everybody was freaked out and scared, that the federal government passed the Patriot Act. I mean, there's nothing less patriotic than the Patriot Act. And yet here we are in modern times where people all across the country are willing to give up their freedoms. Nothing has been more obvious than in the case of Champaign, Illinois, where the mayor of that town has voided any kind of voluntary interaction between people, voided the Second Amendment, which is the ban of the sale of firearms and ammunition, and banned the sale of alcohol. Why would you do this? It's for these very times that the United States Constitution was written. It's for these very times when people freak out and use emotion and fear. That's exactly why the United States Constitution was written, to prevent government overreach. Government doesn't overplay its hand in times of peace and serenity and goodness. It overplays its hand when people are afraid. Think the Great Depression. Think the New Deal. Think all the times in American history where government has expanded its powers at the expense of personal liberty. You know, if our founders could see us right now, they'd be rolling around in their graves. We're people in this diminished generation compared to men of times past would be willingly to hand over their freedoms and liberties, all under the veneer of safety and security. Now, this makes me sick. This makes me sick that a nation of great men such as Patrick Henry and John Adams and George Washington and Thomas Jefferson, where we are diminished and we're at the state of being where we're at right now, where people are so willing to give up their freedom. When I look throughout history, I see tyrants taking advantage of crises. I see tyrants taking advantage of situations where people are afraid, where there's this level of uncertainty, where normally logical people give way to their emotions, and where it's acceptable all of a sudden to give up personal liberty so that government can fix whatever current ailment is in the world. The problem is that when people give powers to government, they never give them back. Government never gives back power to the people. It keeps it. It reserves it for itself. And the problem here is that we are now currently in a country where we have a perceived medical emergency. Well, it didn't start with this. A couple of years ago, a couple of untrained, idiotic foreigners with guns shut down the city of Boston. Remember when everybody was told to stay in their house, and then a highly trained law enforcement of Boston, boy, that's an oxymoron if I ever heard one, goes door to door and makes people stay in their house until they catch these guys. That is not the behavior of free people. Our ancestors were proud, and they did not cede to government powers that they did not have. They did not cede to them emergency powers. The Constitution was written for moments like this. The Constitution made sure that we retain powers for ourselves. We cannot give in to fear. I am not fooled by this, and I don't think that this is a good thing, folks. We cannot give in to this. Stop letting fear drive your decision making. This is what we tell children. And unfortunately, I have to sit here and tell you this. Do not let fear drive your decision making. And if I were a police officer in the state of Illinois, I would drag this woman out of her house and present her to a federal magistrate for violation of federal law, which would be conspiracy to violate civil rights. You know, folks, for years I've tempered my message. You know, for years I've been on this YouTube and I've had to be careful about what I have to say. You know, I love this country. I love what it stands for. I love the Constitution. I love the Bill of Rights. I love the personal freedoms that we have. And quite honestly, I'm ashamed to have to sit here and make a video telling you why a medical emergency doesn't constitute the trashing of the United States Constitution. It is environments such as this where tyrants have flourished. It is exactly in these kind of times where tyrants have thrashed the rule of law, have thrown away common law, have thrown away any kind of normalcy so that they can assume powers not delegated to them. I don't know of any situation where a servant tells a master in his own house what they have to do. We, the people of this country, we are the masters. Government is the servant. And when the moment comes where the servant tells the master how to live their life, you kick that servant to the curb and you get them into the unemployment line. People, the ruse is going to come where they're telling you that you have to give up your personal liberty for security. And as Benjamin Franklin said, he who gives up freedom for security soon loses both. And I'm going to tell you this, that you're going to hear all kinds of propaganda, you're going to hear all kinds of bullcrap about the situation that's happening right now. Do not fall for this trap, because powers granted to government are never given back to the people. It has never happened. They will keep them and retain them for themselves. It is for this exact same moment right now that the Constitution was written, and we cannot give in to fear, we cannot cede our personal liberties. And you idiotic woman mayor of Champaign, I want you to listen to me. You do not have the power, you do not have the authority, and you do not have the ability to supersede the United States Constitution. And any law enforcement officer that's worth a damn will absolutely make sure that you are brought before a federal magistrate. That is my advice to police in Champaign, Illinois. That is my advice to the citizens of Champaign, Illinois. Do not let fear rule your decision making. This is not the republic that our founders wished to give us, folks. This is not the decision making that our founders expected out of their leaders. And I want you to understand that the Constitution is the supreme law of the land. That does not mean in national emergencies that we can get rid of it and trash it and use it as toilet paper. Quite the contrary. It is for these times that the Constitution is written. Stand firm. Do not buy into the hype. Believe that the Creator of heaven and earth has endowed us with life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. If you found the information in this video helpful, subscribe to the channel, follow me on Facebook. That link is down below. And if you want to get some training to protect yourself during these times, come on out to Valor Ridge and we can help you. This is Reid Henrichs of Valor Ridge reminding you, lessons that we learn are written on the tombstones of others. We'll see you on the ridge.